Hey guys, what's up? It's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. So today's video has been highly requested and something that I've been planning on filming for a long time, but you know, I never got the chance to, and now here we are. We're gonna finally film it. So like I said in the last video, a lot of the videos coming up are all wedding related, but this one combines like wedding and finance. So all of you who follow me mainly because of my budget and everything, this will hopefully be up your alley too. So today we are going to be talking about wedding budgets. So if you don't know, number one, where have you been? But Alex and I are getting married in a month, like literally a month from tomorrow will be our wedding day. We have been engaged since April of 2019, so we've had quite a long engagement. We had always planned it that way. But for those of you who are not married, and even those of you who are married, you may or may not know, weddings are very expensive. Like, so expensive. It's unreal. Obviously, I'm in debt. I'm paying off my debt. I'm paying off my student loans, all that fun stuff. But at the same time that I was doing that, I was also saving for a wedding, obviously. So the plan for this video is that first I'm going to kind of go through just like general tips about making your wedding budget, and then we're actually going to go and look at my wedding budget and I'm going to give you real numbers, real everything, because that's what we do here. We are 100% transparent. And yeah, so the first thing that you should do when planning a wedding budget is there's two things. Number one is look up an approximate estimate, like very broad, how much generally are weddings in your area. Some figures, they can give you like a price per person. Some it's just a general idea. I found that for the most part, those are pretty accurate. Our wedding is like 200 people, which is pretty big compared to what a lot of the estimates were. So take those all with a grain of salt, but get a general, very, very, very general idea how much you're gonna spend on your wedding. And then the next thing is something that can be very awkward if you have to ask. And then obviously it kind of depends on your family dynamics. Like for us, this wasn't like that weird to ask. It was a little weird to ask, but have a conversation with your parents and your significant other's parents about if they are able to help you financially pay for the wedding. If they are, how much are they able to help you? Are there specific things they want to pay for? And stuff like that. So for Alex, his older sister got married 3-4 years ago now. So we had a general, well, we didn't have a general idea. We knew that they had given, Alex's parents had given his sister money. Her wedding, my parents, my older sister is like, got married like 19 years ago. So it's been a while, and weddings are way more expensive now than they were back then. So yeah, we talked to them. We had a general idea of how much they were able to contribute, which was actually a good amount. I'm not going to actually specifically tell you how much they've been able to give and how much Alex and I are paying out of pocket. I will give you the broad number of how much our wedding is going to cost, but that's all I'm going to give you, just because I want to save our parents' privacy. So, you know, like, they don't, you guys don't need to know how much our parents gave us for the wedding. Once you have your rough estimate of how much your wedding is going to cost, and then you know how much your parents are going to be able to help you pay for, or if they're not able to help you pay for anything, whatever, then you will have a better idea of how much money you and your significant other are going to have to save up for the wedding. This is all before you even have a wedding date, because honestly, if you're planning a $40,000 wedding and your parents aren't able to contribute anything for you or whatnot, like, you're gonna have to have a longer engagement, versus if your parents are able to pay for your whole wedding, you can have like a 1-year engagement, you know? So that's what I would say first. So yeah, now that you have a general idea of how much you're going to be able to spend on a wedding, it's important for you and your significant other to sit down and kind of talk about your priorities for the wedding, like things you are willing to spend more money on to have at your wedding. So for us, we were willing to spend more money to have really good food because that's important. I also knew that I really wanted a videographer. So that was something we knew we had to pay for, and I really cared about the pictures. So I was willing to spend more money on a really good photographer. And for us, those three were the biggest things that we cared about. Everything else was kind of like smaller details to us. So another piece of advice for you when looking at venues is that some venues allow you to bring in your own catering. Other venues have a catering that they provide, or they have like a minimum on bar or service or stuff like that. So when you're looking at that, be careful that you're not signing up for more than you're actually going to be able to spend. So we went with a venue that we were able to import our own catering, have our own catering, and it is definitely way less money than it would have been if we went with a venue who had their own catering set up that we had to have a minimum at, because it's usually a price per guest, and that can be very expensive. So the next thing to do is kind of break down your budget into categories. So there's a million things on Pinterest online that you can look at that like tell you approximately the percentages of like how much the venue is going to cost you, how much the food's going to cost you, which by the way, the venue and the food probably going to cost you the most money, just being upfront with you. How much a DJ is going to cost you, like percentage of your budget, how much you should spend on those things, and like how much you're willing to spend on a dress, how much, you know what I'm talking about. So once you do that, you'll have a much better idea of how much you can spend in each category. Another thing, if you're trying to have a cheaper wedding, is when you are hiring vendors, as scary as it can be sometimes to hire new vendors, like newer people who are newer to planning weddings, DJing, venues, food, all that stuff, newer things, a lot of the times they're going to be significantly cheaper because they're newer. So our venue was newer, our videographer was newer. Those are like the biggest things, but those were things that were really expensive. Another really big determinant of your wedding budget is how many guests you're gonna have. So before you really even get started into making your budget, it's important to sit down with your significant others, with your parents if they're paying for the wedding. If they're not paying anything for the wedding, I personally don't think they should have any say in people who will be at the wedding or not be at the wedding. Just my 2 cents. But it's important to sit down with your significant other and figure out a general broad guest count, guest list, stuff like that. If you are on a tighter budget for your wedding, if you don't have as much money to spend, definitely smaller wedding. If you have $1 million to spend on your wedding, bigger wedding, you know? It's sometimes tough to cut people, but if you want to have a super small wedding with your close family and friends and you only have to spend like 10,000 bucks, awesome. If you want a huge wedding, awesome, whatever. That's a big thing too that you should like discuss with your partner and figure out what your vibes are and how much you're willing to spend. So with that being said, let's look at my budget-ish type situation and how I've been keeping track of what we're spending for the wedding. So I don't have it saved right now, but one thing that I had when I first started wedding planning was I had a spreadsheet that had all the like vendors we would need to hire on the one, and then like different tabs that had the different categories. So like venues, I had a list of the venues, I had photographers, the list of different photographers, and within that I had price estimates for them and stuff like that. So when we would hire one, we would put it into the like real the front one that had like our like actual hired vendor. So that was a way to kind of compare and contrast prices with people. Another big piece of advice for when you're like looking for vendors is really just like look, like take your time, research around, look, compare prices. There's plenty of vendors out there. You might not get the one of your dreams if you take this time, but you're also gonna maybe save some money for yourself. So let's go look at my budget real quick. So I have it broken down into different categories. I have bridal attire, so things I'm gonna be wearing, using, hair, makeup, all that stuff. And then I have groom's attire, which is Alex's stuff. I have stationery, so save the dates, invites, stamps, thank you notes, that falls into that category. Ceremony stuff, so the venue and officiant, reception, food, bar, dessert, music, photography, videography, flowers, and then like miscellaneous category. So let's look in the first category. I have budgeted. So I basically took the estimated price that I had. I did my research, I looked, I whatever, chopped it up. And then I had, if you see the bolded thing, I have the like general idea of how much we'll spend there, and then I broke it down into the different categories. For example, reception, food, that's just a broad thing because it's per person and we don't have our guest list yet, but this was the price if we were at the highest a number, like if everyone we invited came to the wedding. And then bar, that's also an estimate. So these were kind of all estimates. Granted, I did make this after we had already hired some of our vendors, so I was able to put the actual price in there. And then the next category is the budgeted and paid. So I kept it as like the budgeted category, but then whenever we paid for something, I would change it in there to kind of update where we were at. So if I spent more on something, it made the number go up. If I spent less, it made the number go down. You know what I mean. So the next category then was like the actual cost of what things would cost us. So as you can see, the actual cost is like slightly more than we had budgeted for the bridal attire. That's because we spent a little bit more on my dress, and alterations were way more expensive than I had looked at. So there is that. But then like shoes didn't cost me nearly as much. So we have that category. There's obviously some things we have not, like we don't know an actual cost for yet, like bar, food, dessert, all that stuff. And then the next category is the amount paid. So this is things that I have paid for in full or partially. If some vendors do like payment plans, stuff like that, so you're not forking out all your money at once. And then the remaining cost is in this category. So there's still a few things that we owe money on that I know the specific amount we owe money on. Again, for like the food and stuff for the reception, I don't know anything yet for sure. So that will come at a later date, except we've already paid $1,000 to them, it looks like. That was the deposit. That's what that was. So that is kind of a lot of busyness going on. And then actually over here I have this general like cost per person for food for us. And then the next thing is actually the thing that's been like keeping me sane. It's my payments. So anytime I have purchased anything for the wedding, it goes in here. It's a spreadsheet. It's super nice. The color coordination is stuff that I've paid for, that me and Alex have paid for, that my parents have paid for, or Alex's parents have paid for. They've actually given us the money just to spend, so it's just depending if it comes out of my account, if it comes out of Alex's account, if it comes out of our savings account, which is where my parents' money is, if it comes out of our combined saving account, which is where Alex's parents' money is. So as you can see, we've made a ton of things, and then the bottom part right here is payments that are left. So like tomorrow I have another payment due for the florist and for our photographer, so this has been really helpful. I check it every so often to be like, okay, shoot, we have a payment due here. So yeah, like we're getting close there. Like we really don't have a ton of things left to pay for, besides just the final payments on everything. It's a lot of money. Like we've paid more, I think we've paid more than half already. So combining all that together, our like rough estimate budget of the amount of money we're going to be spending on our wedding is like $35,000, which is a lot of money. it's a lot of money. Alex and I both have decently big families. We have over 200 people there. I think like the estimated cost per person for Wisconsin for a wedding is like 190 or something, and we're actually only at like 130 per person. This includes like if you took the venue cost and divided it by your guest list, you know what I mean? So it's actually way less expensive than it could be. We definitely have chosen some cheaper options, like the dress. My dress was something that I cared about, but I knew that it was something I would wear one time, so that, and my budget was only $1,000. Florals, we are actually doing all fake florals, so once we purchase them we can sell them again to someone and reuse them. So another piece of advice is definitely just keeping track of what you're spending and where it's going and what you're spending money on. It's been like a saving grace for us, honestly, like, because it's so easy to just be like, here's money, here's money, here's money, but then you're like, oh shoot, was that this money, or was that this money, or was that this money? So it's been nice to be able to like keep track of everything. So in terms of saving for your wedding, once you have a general idea of how much you and your significant other are gonna spend on it, and you have like a general idea of a date, basically you'll just take whatever you need to spend, divide it by the amount of months until the wedding, and that's how much you have to save every month. So if you remember, in a lot of my budgets I was saving about $250 to $500 a month. Alex has not been working like a full-time job since we've been engaged. She's been in school, so I have, with my money, I mean, I have a good income, so I've been able to save more for us. But with having a wedding, it's kind of just gonna be up to you and your partner. What are your priorities? Like, do you want to have a huge extravagant wedding, or would you rather save that money to buy a house, or do you want to have like a small intimate ceremony? Do you want to do a destination wedding? Like, there's so many options. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a wedding. Like, it's all about the love you guys have for each other. Oh my god, that's really sappy. But yeah, I hope that this was kind of helpful. There are some amazing like wedding planner people on YouTube. One of them for sure is Jamie Wolfer. I will link her YouTube channel below. When planning the wedding, like, I've literally think I've watched every single one of her videos. She has a lot of options for saving money and DIY projects and stuff like that, so be sure to check her out. And yeah, it is crazy that we are almost to the wedding. We have lots and lots of payments coming up, and it's a little bit stressful, but all of our money is there. It's saved. We've saved it, and now it's just kind of forking it out to people. But yeah, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss any more videos from me. We have our August budget coming up soon, and obviously wedding vlog will be coming soon. I'm not gonna actually vlog the day of the wedding. We'll just have a videographer there, obviously, and whenever we get that back, I will post it to the YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all you guys' love and support on all my videos, and yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.